This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp. Do you work in the film industry? Are you freelance? Or perhaps you have a 9 to 5? No matter what you do, mental health affects us all. I struggled early on in my career with the uncertainty of if and when I would ever work again, struggling to pay my bills or simply with anxiety. Don't know about you, but being an actor, it's very important for me to maintain structure in the downtimes, and I found not only exercise, but talking to someone for me was a game changer. And so Life in Film has partnered with BetterHelp to provide you with access to the largest online therapy service in the world. And it can all be done from the comfort of your own home, from a phone, tablet or laptop. No commute, cutting down travel costs, and most importantly, it's affordable. With over 1,000 therapists in the UK, BetterHelp can provide access to mental health professionals with a wide variety of expertise in mental health. If you need someone to talk to and you're thinking of giving therapy a go, BetterHelp is a great option. And being a listener of the podcast, you get 10% off. That's 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/lifeinfilm. That's betterhelp.com/lifeinfilm. Welcome to A Life in Film. I'm Elliot James Langridge. I'm an actor, writer, and apparently a podcaster, and I love film. This is the podcast that we ask our guests from in front and behind the camera, how did they get their foot in the door? What was the key to unlocking their success? What's their story? Previous guests include Amanda Abington, George Mackay, Phil Dunster, Diana Baring, and Tommy Flanagan. Today's guest is Dexter Fletcher. Dexter's acting career took off when he was only 6 years old, when he starred as Babyface in Alan Parker's Bugsy Malone. This was closely followed by appearances in The Long Good Friday and The Elephant Man. As an adult, you'll know him from Guy Ritchie's Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels and Steven Spielberg's Band of Brothers, among many, many, many more. Not only that, he is now one of the most exciting directors working today. He came in to save Bohemian Rhapsody from the brink of disaster, or in his words, he helped them finish it. He's directed the brilliant Taron Egerton multiple times, first off in Eddie the Eagle, following this up with Oscar-winning Elton John biopic Rocketman. We talk about the ups and downs of being in the industry for over 40 years, capturing the magic of action-adventure comedies such as Romancing the Stone and True Lies in his new movie Ghosted, starring Chris Evans and Ana de Armas. And I admit, my most embarrassing moment involves him. If you enjoy this episode, please give us a like and a follow. Thank you.
It's a life in film. 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 Woo!
Thank you for squeezing me in, man. I appreciate it.
No, likewise.
If I may, Dexter, if we could turn back the clock and ask how it all began, like when you actually started out as an actor when you were a kid, you know, doing movies like, I know obviously a lot about your career and I've followed you and I've always admired you, but looking back and seeing some of the absolute bangers you're in, it's pretty funny. The first few films, I mean, like Bugsy Malone, Long Good Friday, The Elephant Man, that's just a ridiculous start. How did that begin? How did that start?
Oh, I went to just like in Islington, where my granny still now lives, 99 years old, at Oxton. There was a drama club basically, and there was people like Phil Daniels and Pauline Quirk and a whole bunch of the Kemp brothers from Spandau Ballet. There was a whole bunch of actors, you know, kids who sort of would ordinarily be excluded from school. I think, you know, there was just a club, and he'd go after school to this club. It was very working class, and it's in fact the area where Alan Parker came from in The Angel, Islington, and that's why he ended up casting kids from Bugsy Malone there. That's where but I went there at a very early age. This is me there. That I have a picture on my desk of me there.
Wow! So how old are you there?
I'm 5 there.
Wow.
You could go from 5, 6 years old on anyway. So I had 2 older brothers and we went there and then sort of casting directors sort of discovered this place where the kids were very natural. It was all improvisation. There was no sort of script study or anything like that. You just make up plays or scenes. It's all very natural. It's great. But the kids were the acting there was sort of just very raw and it took off in the 70s. It became a big thing. You know, if you want a good child actor, you go to Anna Scherz. That's the name of it. Anna Scherz. So, and I went there. My brothers and some kids got work, most didn't, and she would never let you do adverts. She was always very strict about that. So it was either theatre or televisions or films, and I was part of that wave. You know, in the 70s of kids who came out of that drama club in Islington. With my brothers and various other people, Kathy Burke, it was from there, and anyway, so yeah, and then I started doing theatre a lot. I did a lot of theatre actually, and extra work in TV. But then at about 9, I started getting I got some more serious work, and then Bugsy Malone changed everything. Bugsy just changed everything for me, really, as a child.
Am I right in thinking that I feel like I spotted, I think one of the guys from Bugsy Malone in The Offer. Am I wrong in saying that? One of the other kids. I mean, it's just by sight. I should have probably looked it up and made sure. But I'm pretty sure he's one of the gangsters in it. I'm probably completely wrong.
You might be thinking that one of the guys, there's a few guys from Band of Brothers in there.
Yeah, Band of Brothers. Maybe that's what I'm thinking, because the guy that spoiler alert, but the guy that gets shot.
He in fact is in Hook.
That's what he's in as a kid. That's what I'm getting confused
Jimmy
about.
Madio is. He and I are good friends. I think, you know, there's definitely a lot of crossover because he was a child actor, I was, and we both come from very sort of working class backgrounds, really. You know, he's a New York, Little Italy guy. I mean, he's the real deal, you know. That's why I got him in. He was one of the first people I got in. You know, that character in the script was written as a 6 foot kind of heavy. Like, no, it's got to be Jimmy Madio because he's authentic. And he's a good friend, and I wanted to work with him. So from Bugsy, but he from Band of Brothers rather. But he's in Hook. That's where you recognise him.
Yeah, sorry, I should have done my homework on that one. No, the cast in that though, there were loads of little faces that I was thinking, oh yeah, him, definitely Band of Brothers. There's quite a few of them, isn't there? In there?
There's a lot. The guy who plays Frank Sinatra.
Yeah.
Bill Garnier. There's a couple of FBI agents as well. That's Lieb Toy, Ross McCall, and Kirk Acedo.
And I love there's quite a few English actors in there that it's nice to see them playing those roles. Like they're really doing something completely different.
Yeah. Well, that's you know, Matthew Good, Bern Gallman.
Matthew Good's brilliant.
Matthew Good is brilliant. And, also Colin Hanks is in there, who's an old mate from Band of Brothers as well. He was Band of Brothers was his first job, and I was a sergeant. He was my lieutenant. You know, there's all these kind of connect. Those Band of Brothers guys, we're all sort of there's little groups of us that are quite close still. 25 years later or whatever it is. You know?
Wow, that's mad. I mean, that is one of those shows that you look back at the cast and you just think, wow, there's just so many people have come out of that. And, you know, obviously they're doing Masters of the Air now, which is kind of not a follow-up, but it's the same team behind it. And it's got all these young, exciting actors in it, and everyone's clambering to get in there in the hope that it will be, you know, Band of Brothers.
Yeah, they know what they're doing. They do know what they're doing.
Yeah, it sounds like it's going to be pretty good.
Yeah, it looks great.
Yeah. But to touch on, like, obviously you acted for, you know, 30, 40 years and you're still acting now, but obviously now the directing is something that you're obviously very passionate about and you've had great success with. Where did that where did that moment come where you went, oh, I'm going to give this a go actually? And, you know, Wild Bill came around and you were like, Yeah, I
mean, I sort of tell this story about Wild Bill that you know, I wrote it with a friend. I had this idea for this story cooking around in my head for a long time. And I spoke to a friend who was a writer and who'd never really written many screenplays, but he put, you know, together the first bones of it and then we worked on it. And I had it anyway, and I met this producer and I just wanted to get it made. So I was like, I've written this with a friend and I handed it over to her. Just to see if she was interested, and then she read it and liked it, but she just made the assumption that I was going to direct it. Because, like you say, I've been acting 40 years. People know who I am. I'd just been doing this show called Hotel Babylon, so people kind of knew me from that. And Lock Stock still had a lot of currency, although it was sort of 10 years, 15 years after Lock Stock. You know, people remember it with such affection, and it was such a great hit out of very little. You know, it didn't cost a lot of money, and it really made a lot of money. So that formula, that's good. And the thing is about Lock Stock is that there's been lots of derivative versions of people have made films because I think a lot of people watched it and went, well, that's me, I can do that. This is just, you know, Guy made it look incredibly easy, and he had a lot of authentic characters in it. So a lot of those people felt that they could make that film or films like it. It was easy when it's, of course, it's anything but. So you get a lot of kind of substandard. I mean, a lot of people enjoy them, and there's a market for them. I'm not dissing them in any way, but anyway, I think this producer felt because I was attached to Lock Stock and I'm part of that original crew, and I was talking about, you know, I was around with those kind of people. Anyway, she assumed I wanted to direct it, and so she said, "Okay, I've got you the money. You're directing it. You're directing. Of course, you're directing." And so I realised that my opportunity was there and then to get it made was to say yes, although I'd not really thought about it. I suppose I must have always been really thinking about it, but never found a voice. And then this woman sort of said, "Okay, you're directing it." Sam Troman's her name is. I said, yeah, that's the plan. Although I never really thought about it. And she said, great. And she went and got the money. It wasn't money. And so then I started getting into that idea, and I knew there was a whole lot I didn't know. But so then I set about trying to find out what the other side of the camera stuff was that I didn't know. Because as an actor, you know, you get employed when everything else is kind of set. You know, and you come in and you do your costume fitting, and you know, you do your stuff, and they kind of keep the other kind of madness away from you, so you can focus on acting and being great, and then you go home, and then a year later you see the film and you go, oh great, that was good, or oh Jesus, what am I? But anyway, I sort of stumbled into it, I suppose, but I had directed lots of acting workshops in my 20s and with my brother Graham, so I kind of had a handle on that, or an idea. And then I met George Richmond, who was an incredible DOP, who he shot this incredible film called Children of Men. He was the operator on Children of Men. I loved him, and then he turned up and said, well, you could get someone else to shoot it for you, but you'd be an idiot if you did. I really like this guy. I really like him. So I got, you know, and then I started putting it together. And then it got nominated for a BAFTA, and, you know, so on and so forth. That obviously helps a lot.
Yeah. I mean, that must have been pretty nerve-wracking, though. First day, first shot, sitting there thinking, shit.
I remember it was really cold. It was really cold. We were shooting in a graveyard, and it was the one day that we had Andy Serkis. But I was canny in that I asked a lot of. There's not many people in that film I don't know.
Yeah.
Relationship with before. I'm trying to think who, you know, maybe Olivia Williams. I'd not met. I did though. I knew everyone, and the crew was, you know, it wasn't big, and it was just really exciting. And I'd been working on it. You know, one of the first things I did is I found the location even before the script was finished being written. It was just another piece of good fortune, is that I was talking about this tower block, and I needed to have a flat on a tower block, and my cousin who works in TV production said to me, "Oh, there's an empty tower block in Newham. You should talk to the Newham Film Council." Well, I had no idea it existed. I didn't even know those things existed, because as an actor, you don't have to think about locations. So I had phoned up Newham Film Council, and they went, "Oh yeah, we've got a tower block," and they let me and my brother went down and looked at it, and it was an entire tower block empty except for a few flats, and they gave us a whole floor. They said you could rent a whole floor. So then we had 6 flats on the 19th floor of this empty tower block. And I started writing to that tower block, which really helped keep the production small and efficient.
Yeah.
And that became a character in the film almost, you know, and that worked hugely to our advantage. It just meant money that we did have, we could use really effectively. I'm getting into the nitty gritty of it now.
No, that's really interesting. I think, especially when it comes to film budgets and like low budget films, it's like it's always scrabbling the pennies together, isn't it, to find something that's actually going to work. So it's no, I find that really interesting.
Yeah, no. Well, just one more thing on that is that there was a good friend of mine called Ben Pugh and Iran Creevy, who made a great film called Shifty. It's a really good film, which I really loved and admired. And I went and spoke to Ben, the producer, and he said, just make sure you get your central hub and never travel more than 10 minutes for any location from there. And so because I had this tower block where I had an incredible view of London and the Olympic Village was being built out of the window, you could literally see that place emerging. And because the film was about renewal, old to new, you know, and reestablishing things, it just sort of, it kind of really played into the whole thing. And that advice worked really well. And I would give the same advice to any filmmakers, like get your central hub and make sure you don't have to travel too far so you can make the film, you know, don't overextend yourself. And we just spent one day in the Isle of Wight. And other than that, it's all within a 2-mile radius of a tower block. Anyway, there you go.
Wow. I mean, I love that film. Now for a quick break. Are you a writer, director, actor, costume designer, perhaps makeup artist? Are you interested in camera? This is the place to share your journey. We want to hear from you. How did you start your career? Has it started yet? And perhaps, if you're feeling brave, share with us your most embarrassing film-related moment. So slip into our DMs at Life in Film Pod on Instagram. Check out the Patreon at patreon.com/lifeinfilm, where you'll get episodes early and uncut, amongst other treats. And don't forget to follow us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. If you enjoy this episode, please leave us a positive rating. Add us on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok at Life in Film Pod, and find our video episodes on YouTube by searching Elliot James Langridge Life in Film. Essentially, please like and subscribe everything. It makes a huge difference. Thank you. This is also a space we'd like to fill with sponsors and advertisement for like-minded podcasts, so please get in touch. And back to the show. Here's the trailer for Dexter's new movie, Ghosted, on Apple TV on the 21st of April.
I was just wondering if you wanted to, go out sometime.
You want to get a coffee?
Now?
Yes, now.
I'll just hang on.
Any word?
She ghosted him.
I bet she isn't even seeing your text.
She does travel a lot for work.
Go to her.
I'm going to London. See, you get it. It's a grand romantic gesture.
Yeah, that is amazing, mate. 5,000 miles to surprise a girl who you've only met once, especially if she's the one who ghosted you.
No, she didn't ghost me. She just doesn't have an international calling plan.
Oh, right.
Where am I? Oh, God, you have the wrong guy? I'm a farmer. Wait. Whoa.
Can you walk, Gold?
Say to you. Who are you?
CIA.
I'm so confused. They kept asking me about the tax man.
They asked you about the taxman?
They think I am a tax man. You're the tax man.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my God. You got me kidnapped and tortured all after one day. I saw the rock.
You're the one who flew to London.
It was a romantic gesture. Get every bounty hunter on the continent. I want her alive.
This is bigger than you and me.
Did it never occur to you that he could be a foreign asset trying to compromise your mission?
Who the hell are you?
I'm the boyfriend.
Do you trust me?
Is that a joke?
This project compared to your other, obviously Rocketman and Eddie the Eagle, things like that. How does this compare? Because this is like a sweeping action adventure. What is the bit like going on set and doing something like this? It must be a very different process.
Yeah. I mean, look, you basically got the same elements as you do with making all films. You've got the actors and the cameras and the lights and the sets and the props but all of them. But every time they're different. Every project is different. At least I try to strive for that anyway. That's something I like to. Alan Parker was a great sort of hero of mine and a great influence for various reasons. But when I look at his canon of work, I was always sort of impressed and excited by how different choices he would make from one project to the next. If you look at Bugsy or Fame or The Commitments or Angel Heart or Mississippi Burning, these films are all very different. Midnight Express. They're all very different. He always try to make different choices. And okay, there's some crossover. Obviously, there's music and stuff like that, which tends to happen when you make a success of a particular kind of film, as I've experienced, with music, for example. But that's something that sort of like intrigues me and excites me. So something like Ghosted, which has got scale that I'd not really had before, the scale of which I've not sort of tackled before, was also a very exciting element of that, because it was just it was globe-trotting and there's action and there's kind of these big movie stars and big kind of ideas and I was kind of curious, like, oh, how could I apply what I do to that genre of film?
I could tell the minute I saw the trailer and the music started.
Yeah,
and I was like, this feels like a Dexter Fletcher film.
Oh, really? Okay, that's good. I like that. Okay.
But I'm really looking forward to it. I love obviously Chris Evans and I can never pronounce her name. Ana de, how do you say Armas. Both brilliant actors, and the chemistry in the trailer looks like it's like just on point.
Yeah.
Is this more of a action or is it a comedy? Because I know it feels like a Romance in the Stone kind of movie where it's got a bit of both.
Exactly. That was our touchstone, and in fact, Evans sort of loves Romancing the Stone, and I do. And he came actually from a conversation that he was having with Rhys Wernick about it, and I think then that's when they started sort of developing it up, and then it's like, how do we make that different? But yeah, it's hard to pinpoint. No, I would say it's a comedy. It is funny. It certainly leaves you with a smile on your face, I think, and that's the intention. But also, I think what Romancing the Stone or True Lies or those big 80s kind of movies do is they kind of have one foot firmly planted in reality. You kind of feel, though they're over the top in a lot of aspects, because if these sort of things were happening around the world, we'd hear about them. But there's a kind of a foot in reality. It's got to feel like, it's feasible, it's plausible, that this couple could go on this kind of crazy adventure in this world of espionage and undercover daring do. I don't know what but so that was very much a part of it, because it means we get to have the best of both worlds, in that we can have a bit of drama and a bit of pathos and a bit of like, hey, there's a point to this, where there's something of the human condition we're trying to address and give some kind of recognizable human moment to the audience, so that they're connected to this story, that either they want to have that experience or they recognize that experience, and that invariably comes down to how we all relate to one another and the human kind of connection and stuff. So I was very keen to I think my other films kind of do that. It's kind of how do you make these extraordinary people like Elton John relatable? How do you? Because of course he's just a bloke like anyone else. He's just has this extraordinary life. So I think that's the aim. But so it is a comedy, it's a romance, it is a rom-com. Really, it just has an extraordinary. You're in a rom-com. You've always got to stick some obstacle between them being together, whether it's themselves or a falling meteor or I don't know, an alien invasion or whatever it is. This just happens to be that her job kind of makes things more complicated.
Slightly bigger obstacle than normal, but I love it.
Yeah.
You've obviously gone from, doing The Offer, which I'm halfway through at the moment. I'm absolutely loving.
Good.
I find it fascinating because I love The Godfather as well. So there's all those lovely moments in there. You go, oh yeah. Going from that to this, I mean, how did this land on your desk? What was how did it come about? How did it all start for you to do this film?
That was I was doing The Offer, and I'd done the first 2 episodes, and we were in serious discussion about me. I mean, the plan was that I'd do the last 2 as well, although that wasn't kind of officially signed off on, which was to my good fortune, really, because when I just finished editing the first 2 eps, I was having just sort of coming to the end of it, and sort of thinking about the last 2 eps. This landed on my desk, and Skydance and Evans sort of got me on a Zoom and was like, "Look, we think that you would have a good take on this, and this here it is." And I read it, and I was like, "Oh, that's a lot of fun, and it's a big budget, and it's Evans and Skydance and Apple, and it's sort of like had all these great, interesting, exciting elements to it, and the script was good." And they dropped it on my desk and said, "What would you do?" And so I said, "Well, I'll do this and I'll do that. I'll change this and I think about that." And they all sort of nodded very enthusiastically and said, "Look, we really want you to do it." So then I had to make that big decision about, okay, do I take this golden opportunity and unfortunately have to pull out of the last 2 episodes of The Offer, which is something I'd become incredibly passionate about and loved very much. It was just I was more on a dilemma there, really. Fortunately, Paramount and Nicole Clements, the head of the studio, was like, "Look, we get it. It's an incredible opportunity, and as gutted as we are, we kind of understand where you're at." So we had a good, open, honest conversation, and they were very, very understanding and supportive, in fact. So. And The Offer had kind of got a really good team on it, and the other directors were great. So, but yes, essentially they came to me and went, "Read this. We think you'd be great for it." And I sort of, when I first went to LA, I was talking to Al Ruddy, the guy who produced The Godfather, and he said to me, "So what did you do on that movie Bohemian Rhapsody?" And I said, "Oh, I kind of helped him finish it." And he went, "Oh man, you're fucked when you come to Hollywood." And I was like, "Well, what do you mean?" He goes, "If you was an American and someone said to you, 'What did you do in Bohemian Rhapsody?' As an American, you would be like, 'I saved that fucking film. They were in so much trouble, and then I came in and I fucking saved it. I saved it from the brink of disaster. If it wasn't for me, it would, which is not a particularly English approach. The English approach is, well, I helped out and it turned out well, so I'm very happy. That's good." So it was a little bit of the element of that, when they said, "We think you do a good job," I sort of went, yeah, I would do a good job of that. You have to back yourself, whether you believe it or not.
Be American about it, for sure.
Yeah, a bit of that going on, yeah. So that was part of my learning curve. I kind of say that, a bit jokingly, because I just love the story about Al Ruddy talking to me like that. "Oh, you're fucked an American kid. Oh, you got to back yourself." Anyway.
He sounds like a big character.
He's a big, big character, yeah. He's like 93 and still sends me scripts now. "You got to read this, read that. You got to do a movie, kid.
Wow.
You get it going in 5 months. Get it going."
My favourite film that you've ever done is Eddie the Eagle. I just absolutely I think it's got such a light of touch. Like it didn't need to be as fun as it was. And I really admire that film. I think it's so good.
Oh, thank you.
It's one of those ones you can watch over and over again. But talking of that film, I have a confession to make.
Most embarrassing moments, yeah.
I have a most embarrassing moment, which involves you actually.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you my most embarrassing story if you tell me yours. But essentially, mine, mine is I came into audition for Eddie the Eagle.
Yeah.
And it was you, and it was one of the producers. And I was really nervous because I was fully aware of who you were. And I was like, oh, this is a big deal. I really don't want to blow it. I'm dyslexic, so whenever I go into auditions and I'm trying to read, I'm like, it's the worst thing. So I came in, and the scene, and when I look back at it now, I think this was obviously a stupid thing to do, but the scene was quite a heartfelt, dramatic scene, which didn't need tears, but I felt at the time it did need tears.
Okay.
And I don't know if you've ever worked with contact lenses, but with contact lenses, it's very difficult to get a tear going.
Right.
So in my brain, I was trying to figure out how can I wear my contact lenses so I can still read the script, but then get a tear. I was like, should I take them out and be blind, but then I can't read? It's kind of, So I thought this was where it all went very wrong. I thought I'll take a little pot of deep heat and I'll put it in my pocket. This is awful. I've never told anyone this. So, now everyone's going to hear it.
This is brilliant.
So I came in and I'm really nervous, and you were lovely. The producer was lovely. And we're chatting, and you're like, so what have you been up to? Blah, blah, blah. And we did the small talk, and I'm like, should we do the scene? I was like, yeah, great. Thinking, okay, this is it. This is the time. So I put my hand in my pocket, and I just kind of rubbed my eye a little bit. And then you guys are looking at the script, and you go, oh, actually, I wanted to ask. And then you started talking about something else. And I think it was, I'd done a film called Northern Soul. And I think we started talking about Northern Soul.
I love Northern Soul.
But I start crying, and
I remember that. I remember you coming in now. I remember.
Yeah, and I start crying, and then you're kind of both looking at me a little bit confused, and I'm like, and then we start doing. I dry up. Absolute nightmare. This has gone so. I just had to tell you because it was the worst.
I don't remember you crying. Maybe I do.
Oh, it was bad. It was, well, to you won't have remembered it, but for me, that was a big moment of a big fuck up. I was like, oh God, what have I done? I should have just gone in there and done it. Just read.
I was like, what was he crying about? He was really upset. He was obviously...
And I remember you saying to me, it really stuck with me. You were like, oh, yeah, look, don't worry. Just relax. You could tell I was nervous. You're like, relax. I've seen Northern Soul. I think I love that film. It's great. You're great. Just calm down. And I'm there, like tears coming down my face. And I'm just like, oh, fucking hell. But anyway,
that's genius.
That's my worst, most embarrassing.
Oh, man.
You have one that you can tell us.
Don't think I should tell it. No, I've got to now. I can't not.
Oh, no.
My wife's like, don't. It's 35 years ago, darling. I knew my wife's like, anyway. Looks like I can't tell that story.
No worries.
Yeah. No, I suppose there was another ad. I went for an audition for an advert, and it was for some soft drink. And I decided that it would be a good idea to, on a beach, and this again in my 20s, you sort of strip down to your shorts and you find yourself standing there in the audition in shorts, and they're looking at you like, what the hell's going on? I was like, why did you make that decision? I didn't need to get a job in an advert for a soft drink particularly, but you just kind of make these strange decisions that I suppose are like your deep heat in the eye kind of choices. They're choices, aren't they? As actors,
they are
choices, and
some are wrong and some are right.
Most are wrong, some are wrong, and some are right. I'm trying to think if there's anything vaguely. Well, I mean, I've had stuff where I've not realised the magnitude of what it was and just sort of not done the work. That was many years ago as an actor. I don't have many that I could. None that could be yours. Yours.
Oh no, funny. No, that is particularly bad.
No, but I swore I marched down. Never work with this crybaby. He's obviously emotionally stressed all the time. Can't touch him.
Dexter, this has been quite cathartic for me. Clearly, after having to tell you that story, but. a real pleasure and a genuine fan. So thank you so much for coming on here. I really appreciate it, and I know the audience are going to love it.
Well, it's great you're doing it. It's great. It's really cool. So yeah,
it's a COVID project that turned into something now. I get to, chat to people like you. So I'm really pleased that.
Oh, congratulations!
It's just fun, man. It's a good thing to do in between the acting work as well. Keeps you sane,
Of course, yeah. Good to talk about things.
Yeah, man. Well, all the best with your film, and I'm really looking forward to seeing it. And all the best, man. Take care.
All right. Brilliant. Thanks so much. See you again.
Mate.
Yeah?
Take care. Bye.
Cheers. All right. Take care, mate.
It's a laughing film, motherfucker. Subscribe and like and follow.
Thank you to our guest Dexter, and thank you to Natalie and the rest of the team at Rowe PR.
Do you trust me?
Is that a joke?
Yeah.
What's that?
It's my bug.
Oh, I see. It looked huge.
I know, because I put it in front of the screen like that. Good, isn't it? Someone gave me it. I just think it's great.